Hey guys, what's up? It's Finch here, and today we're going to be recording a video on the SSOU Viability Rankings update. It's either going to be the last or before last update before the DLC 2 metagame, so for those of you still following this OU metagame, definitely listen up. A lot of changes going on, and we voted on them, and I'm here to bring you guys the results of the vote and discussion we had. And I'm really excited to do so because there's some really cool Pokemon changing, such as Aegislash and Ryperia, the first Pokemon we're going to get into. As for Aegislash, it's a Pokemon that fell from grace earlier in the DLC 1 metagame. Unfortunately, there were just a lot of competitors for it, such as, say, Magearna, which is obviously a better steel type than Aegislash this generation, but rest assured, there's still a lot of viability for Aegislash now, especially in a metagame where you see Pokemon like Kyurem and Clefable seeing so much usage, Pokemon that Aegislash happens to thrive against, in my personal opinion. It has a lot of attacking potential. It can pose a major threat on a special one with Shadow Ball and Flash Cannon, both boosted by Stab, and it can even be a mixed attack with Close Combat. Other moves you could see it running, such as Substitute, King Shield, and Toxic, are all viable as well. And in addition to all of this, I firmly believe that Swords Dance sets are viable too, as able to really take advantage of common Pokemon like Corviknight and Clefable as well. Of course, though, Aegislash does have some drawbacks. For example, it's still weak to Fire, Ground, Dark, and so on and so forth, and it isn't the fastest Pokemon, and also the form change, it does help it a lot become stronger, but it also makes it frailer, which means it's either reliant on King Shield, which can make it predictable, or it means that it's going to have to switch out more often than not upon attacking when facing a faster Pokemon. However, it's still worthy enough to be an A-rank Pokemon in our eyes due to recent metagame trends, and it's really interesting to see it rise up like that. Beyond Aegislash, we also have Ryperia. Ryperia is a Pokemon that's risen from being essentially an RU Pokemon, being one of the better OU Pokemon. In fact, it was even within the top 10 usage stats since Malgan Snake Draft last week, and that's no surprise. It provides an electric immunity while also checking things like Volcarona, especially for Ski Drain and Rotom Heat, and it has a couple of really defending sets. It could run Choice Band and just absolutely pummel the entire metagame. Swords Dance helps it become a major threat in the long haul, and even Stealth Rock sets with Swords Dance or with 3 attacks or with Protect or whatever it might have you can go a long way towards forcing up hazards against the common defoggers in the metagame as well. All in all, I feel like Ryperia is a really impressive option in the metagame. It provides a lot of offensive and defensive presence, and it can easily fit onto teams. Because of that, I'm really glad to see Ryperia thriving in this metagame. Next up, we have Mantine, which is pretty straightforward. It's just a defog option with heavy-duty boots, Roost, Scald, Haze, and defog, of course. It's a great check. It's actually a counter to Volcarona, and again, Haze can also help it handle bulky setup sweepers, and then we'll be able to really just, use it to check things like Calm Mind Clefable acting Thunderbolt, or even Calm Mind Primarina if it's quicker than it, regardless if it's quicker or not. Yeah, so I think that's a big way to look at things as well. So I just want to make sure my recording settings are going well. Okay, they seem to be going just fine. That's perfect. So I've been having some computer issues lately, but I'm trying to pump through to get you guys content every single day. And if you guys are enjoying this content, you can hit that like button. Let me know in the comments and subscribe. That would mean the world to me. We've had so many engaging comments lately, and it's been so fun because, I try to get to every single comment I can. I think out of like 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 comments I do get to interact with in some capacity. Just leaving the heart or, hitting that like button or, engaging with you guys. I think it's really cool that we have this community. And also, speaking of community, we also have a Discord server. It's got like 700, 800 people in there. You guys want to join? I promise you're not going to be like another just fly in the wall. I love talking with you guys. And I've made friends with dozens of you guys. It's just been so fun for me. I think that's the big thing. Like, this community is given back to me for the last 9 years. It's given me hundreds of friends and hundreds of experiences, even things that can kind of translate to real life, such as like handling pressure and, dealing with other people, or just having fun and, using my creative, innovative side. And I think that's just fantastic. And I'm really happy with where things are going. And because of that, I love giving back to you guys. So in another piece of advice on Mantine to give back to you guys, it also checks for people Rapid Strike, because apparently I got a little off topic and a little tangent-y there, but that's fine. You know what you're signing up for when you watch these videos. I'm all over the place, so that's the spirit, right? But yeah, anyway, next up we have another water type in Primarina. It's a really impressive win condition with Substitute, Calm Mind sets. It has good stabs. You can even use coverage moves like Psychic as well, and it really does great against unprepared teams, and a lot of teams are unprepared for it. So it'll take advantage of Pokemon like Toxapex, Clefable, which is really important in the metagame, and also as a soft check to Pokemon like Urshifu and Volcarona in the short haul, which can go a long way towards either forcing them out, winning 1v1s, or getting setup opportunities as well, which is why Primarina, in my eyes, is really underrated in the metagame. Personally, I would have put it in B, not B+. That's just my vote, but I think B+ is still more representative of it than B-, so that's fine. Next up, we have some Pokemon that were previously unranked, some Pokemon that we hadn't quite gotten to explore with enough in the metagame that recently surfaced. One of them was recently released, and that's the Rude. It's a bulk up plus jungle healing set. It's a fast, naturally bulky win condition. It has a chance to sweep with setup opportunities that are pretty common to find. You get in on something like a Ryperia, a Powdon, or even a Primarina, which we just mentioned, I suppose, because Power threatens it out, and you're able to get a bulk up, and then you're able to live a Moonblast from Clefable into a kill. Tangrowth or Amoonguss, it can't really kill you either. Tangrowth can't even 2 kill you, and you're able to do the work, potentially 2 kill them or 3 kill them, and yeah, so I think this route can go a long way. Jungle Healer makes it great against things like Toxapex and Mantine as well. And I also believe that the great speed tier it has, letting it outrun things like Urshifu and Kyurem, can make it function as a pseudo-revenge killer / soft check in very specific situations. And overall, I think it's really convenient, especially as a Wicked Blow resist at least, and Ghost resist. So yeah, helps with Aegislash too. All in all, I wish that it was maybe a little stronger, but it still does the job. It's still a very viable option. I hesitate to put it much above B. Personally, I think I was B minus B, but yeah, I think this is a pretty appropriate placement for it, and it's absolutely a viable option in metagame. Speaking of viable options, another Pokemon that has been around for a while actually, but just recently surfaced thanks to EO Mortis using it in the official ladder tournament, and then a couple other people using it in tournaments recently thereafter, is Cobalion. Cobalion provides Stealth Rocks while also using Close Combat, Iron Head, and Volt Switch in a kind of bulky, soft-checking Stealth Rock set that functions as a pivot. It's able to really resist Wicked Blow, and not only that, but also take advantage of it Justified, letting it check Urshifu's Wicked Blow and counter Bisharp all in one, which is cool, as a lot of cores kind of setting themselves up nicely around checking Urshifu. On top of that, though, Kyurem, Groudon, and Rillaboom are just a couple examples of Pokemon that could soft check, especially in early games, switching into stab moves and such. And all in all, I believe that makes Cobalion a really valuable option. I think it kind of takes a very specific team composition to make it work, but if you're able to work it onto those teams, then it's definitely something that I'd try using out, because, it's underrated, and why the hell not? Next up, we have Slowking. Slowking is a really interesting option right now, as it's a great pivot with Regenerator, Teleport, and Future Sight, but you could argue, oh, but why not Slowbro? Well, basically, Slowking has a bit more special bulk, and that's kind of the only difference between the two. Both are viable. Slowbro is more viable due to having a bit more practical over the physical defensive outlook than specially defensive, but Slowking still works on some teams, and I definitely would advise trying it out. Then we have some Pokemon that rose from the depths of being unranked. Those Pokemon are Centiskorch, Centiskorch, Druddigon, which is a Pokemon that's actually a fan favorite, Indeedee, and Lycanroc Dusk. I'll get to them in order. Centiskorch uses heavy duty boost with a coil set, and the ability White Smoke allows it to kind of negate haze and whatnot. It's interesting setup sweeper, which can do well against Clefable and Kyurem's ice moves, and unfortunately it does struggle with some stronger physical attackers like both Urshifu's, but it is able to do well against Rillaboom at least, so especially if it's not acrobatics, that helps. Overall, it's a fringe option, but it can work on some teams, especially if your name is Electric Wind, of course. Next up, we have Druddigon. Druddigon is kind of a fringe stealth rocker on hyper-offensive teams. It has nice abilities such as Mold Breaker, and I guess also to a lesser extent Rough Skin, and it also has a good move pool to use things like Glare, Taunt, Toxic, Earthquake, Dragon Tail, etc. Overall, making it an interesting lead option on some hyper-offensive teams. And finally, Indeedee is pretty, straightforward. It's a Psychic Trance setter on the teams that abuse Psychic Trance with Expanding Force, generally paired with Alakazam. And Lycanroc Dusk is a physical attacker. Actually, recently got banned from UU, but that's not really why. I believe it was ranked. It's just a strong attacker, but unfortunately, the downside is I can check things like Volcarona, and also at +2, potentially take out Chip, Zeraora, and Dragapult with Cell Rock, or even Sucker Punch with Lex run that. It is very fragile, and you have to be careful switching it in or getting it in safely in general. Those are the rises from lower ranks or unranks to higher ranks, or being ranked in general, on the viability rankings. However, we also have some drops, probably a few less drops than rises, just want to make sure that, this looks fine. So the drops, first and foremost, Toxapex has actually fallen from S to A+, and honestly, I could see it being A before S at this point. Toxapex has slowly but surely fell from grace. It's still a good Pokemon, don't get me wrong, but the thing is that there are a lot of Pokemon that are abusing it in the current metagame. Again, Alakazam, Spike is set up all over it, and then eventually forced it to take a lot of damage, because it never really is able to keep heavy duty boost equipped if it runs them, let alone even runs them. It only runs them like 1 in 10 times, I'd say. Combine plus Thunderbolt, or Psychic, move, Story Power, Side Shot, Clefable, Reuniclus, Kyurem, the list goes on and on and on. All those Pokemon are common and either increasing in usage, or besides Alakazam, kind of stabilizing usage, I'd say. Yeah, and it doesn't really hard counter anything. Like, for example, the only really thing that hard counters is Urshifu Rapid Strike. You can switch into Urshifu and scout the move, but it's not really a counter, and because of that, it really struggles to have a defined niche in the metagame when compared to like a Moonguss, which, okay, at least that can check counter Urshifu Rapid Strike as well, but also deal with things like Zeraora or Rillaboom, which obviously Toxapex doesn't have as great a time dealing with. So yeah, it faces stiff competition, it doesn't have the same defined niches before, and while it can check a lot of things, it's still, it's still a limited option in metagame, you could say. Next up, we have Alakazam, which it really is struggling in the metagame, as I just alluded to. Pokemon like Aegislash, Corviknight, and Blissey are all pretty solid against it, specifically the former two being able to do a lot of damage to it, or Blissey potentially get Thunder Wave it as well. It doesn't get many setup opportunities, especially without massive support due to how fragile it is, and when it can't turn those opportunities into consistent kills, it becomes really problematic how fragile it is, in my opinion. So yeah, I think that's another big thing. Next up, we have Pelipper. Pelipper is an interesting option right now, I'd say. I don't love Pelipper, but it provides, of course, rain on these drizzle-oriented teams, and because of that, how do I put this? I think that those teams are dropping in usage, and therefore we have to drop Pelipper, basically, but it's not really like, it still does the same thing, and almost as effectively, just a little less, because rain teams are dropping Viability. Same goes for Kingdra, and also Barraskewda down here, which is even a fringe option on those rain teams. So yeah, they all just took a little hit. As for Bisharp, it took probably even a bigger hit. And even though it only dropped one sub rank, I could easily see it being in C rank. Unfortunately, Urshifu just really outclassed it right now, and I don't see better days coming ahead with it due to abundance of terrain and fairy types and whatnot to revenge kill it later on in DLC 2. But yeah, no, Bisharp unfortunately is gonna probably be a loser of this metagame and DLC 2. So that's rough for Bisharp. But another dark type that is at least giving it some company, a similar fate, is Grimmsnarl, which unfortunately only really provides screen support in hyper offensive teams, and using screens less and less and less and focusing more on just stacking win conditions nowadays. So that's rough for Grimmsnarl. And then some other Pokemon that fell, Rotom Wash. It's hard to justify using it. There are too many grass types, too many dragon types, and because of that, it's really limited, and it checks a lot less things than Rotom Heat, which is stiff competition with it. Araquanid and Shuckle, just sticky webs aren't very viable, especially with how common heavy duty boosts into Fog are. And Jellicent, besides checking your Shifu Rapid Strike and maybe some Volcarona sets, it just doesn't really do much, unfortunately. So yeah, that about does it. That is everything that has risen and dropped from the SSOU viability rankings with this slate of votes. I'll definitely come back to you guys either with a DLC 2 rankings once they come out a couple weeks in the metagame, or potentially something from the DLC 1 late metagame. So definitely let me know your thoughts on these, and have a great day, guys. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and peace out. All right, bye, guys.